Welcome to the Experience Darden podcast. I'm your host, Brett Twitty, and you are listening to a new episode. On this episode of the podcast, I'm excited to share my recent conversation with Charlie Meyer. Charlie is a second-year student in our full-time MBA class of 2026, and he is also the president of the Net Impact Club. Charlie and I recently connected to talk more about his background, what led him to Darden, what he enjoyed about his first year, what the Net Impact Club has been up to, as well as a Board Fellows program that is growing in popularity here at the Darden School of Business. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. And as always, if this conversation is helpful for you, please like this episode and subscribe to the Experience Darden podcast so you never miss an update. And remember, you can always check the episode description for links to Darden blogs, social channels, and more. Now, without further ado, here's my conversation with Charlie Meyer. Charlie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
It's great talking with you. How are you doing? How's everything?
Pretty good. How about you? Excited things are starting to warm up here in Charlottesville.
Yeah, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I'm here in DC, and
Okay.
I think they're calling for snow on
Oh
Monday and
no.
Tuesday. So yeah, we're day to day here.
Yeah. Just gotta take advantage of any of those nice days when they do show up.
Yeah, you probably got spring break coming up, so you can leave
I
and go
do.
somewhere. Yeah,
Yeah. So I'm actually headed out next week. So looking forward for a little escape, little break.
nice, excellent. Well, thanks for taking time for the podcast. We always start with the same first question. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah. It's so great to be here on the podcast. My name's Charlie. I'm originally from just outside of Denver, Colorado. My undergraduate degree is in mechanical engineering. I went and worked for a number of years in big tech out in the Bay Area before making the decision that it was time to go back to school, which is what has led me now to Darden, getting ready to graduate in just a couple months. Time has flown by. Can't believe it's almost time, but have loved my experience, and yeah, that's all about me.
How did you decide you wanted to pursue an MBA?
It had always been something kind of on my mind, and I think I spent a lot of time debating, was an MBA the right decision for me? And after kind of debating that for a couple of years, got advice from a trusted mentor to say, hey, like, it's only a hypothetical until you apply. And it's only a hypothetical until you can look at the schools that you applied to and see what your options are. And so I went ahead and applied, not even fully knowing if an MBA was necessarily the right fit for me. And after kind of a long process, and when I heard I was accepted to Darden, I just kind of had this gut feeling that it was what I was supposed to do, that it was the right school at the right time for me. And so, said yes, and have tried not to look back since, and just enjoy the ride.
How'd you figure out when was the right time for you? I know that's something that's oftentimes on people's minds too, because you look at a full-time MBA class, you sometimes will have people with 2 or 3 years work experience. You might have people like closer to 6 or 7 years work experience, maybe even a little bit more than that. How'd you figure out the timing?
Yeah, so I was about in the middle there. I had been working for about 5 years. And I think I got to the point where I think when you start out of undergrad, you're very much kind of a generalist. You kind of need to wear a lot of different hats and help out where you can. But as you start progressing, I noticed that my roles was becoming more specialized, and frankly, it was becoming specialized in something that wasn't as interesting or as exciting to me. And so as I was starting to kind of ask myself, okay, if I want to kind of shift my career, whether that's a small move or something more major, what's the best way to accomplish that? And so as I did kind of some soul searching and really asked myself where was I really excited to go, and what was I excited to do, I kind of came to the conclusion that a larger pivot was needed. And because of that, I thought it was the perfect time to go back to business school, grow a network, get a bunch of new skills, and use that as kind of the starting point for making a larger career pivot.
What is it about Darden that appealed to you?
So my younger brother was actually in the law school at the University of Virginia, and so I had come to Charlottesville, and was definitely, I think, a little bit of a different school and different geography than many of the other schools I was looking at. But I couldn't help but feel that there's something special about kind of being in a small town, being in like what's truly a college town, I think it kind of allows and in a weird way kind of forces people to spend more time together and build a stronger community because there's not a lot else in Charlottesville. And so I think and I don't think I fully realized that until I got to school. But once I got here, I was so impressed with how wonderful the community is at Darden, and I would say that's not just about the students, but also about the faculty, also about the staff, and I feel like just about everybody I meet at Darden just really cares about who others are as individuals, and they're there for the same purpose, and they're there trying to kind of lift each other up. It's not so much of a competition trying to get ahead of someone else, but much more so something collaborative of let's all learn and grow together.
You mentioned you had been now kind of West Coast Bay Area.
Yeah.
You had a brother in Charlottesville, but that's a bit of an adjustment, right? Bay Area to Central Virginia.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
what was that like?
I at the beginning, frankly, it was really hard. Being in the Bay Area, being in San Francisco, an enormous city with a lot going on, with I will say probably perfect weather just about all year long was a little bit of an adjustment. And the first week, I didn't know if I'd be able to handle the heat or the humidity in Charlottesville. So it took some adjustment. Definitely something that kind of put me outside of my comfort zone. But I think it really helped that all my classmates were in basically the same boat, right? There's some who are either local or did their undergrad at UVA, and so they're a little bit more familiar. But the vast majority of students are so new here that there's kind of this great opportunity to build relationships, build friendships, and explore the area together. And whether that's something local in Charlottesville or going to Shenandoah or up to DC, there's all these great opportunities to explore and grow to love this area together with your classmates.
Yeah, Charlottesville, the town, city, about 150,000 people in the metro area. Depends on how you sort of define that, but bigger than people may expect, but still very much a college town. Everything orbits around the University of Virginia. You got big sports here, you got cultural activities, but when we get away, you got Richmond about an hour away, you got DC
Mhm.
about two-ish hours away. So
Yeah,
some good spots to check out as well.
absolutely.
So what was the adjustment to the school part of your MBA experience, like being back in the classroom?
It was I think the first time you're kind of going into a class that's taught in the case method, I think I would say that just about everybody's a little bit nervous. No one quite knows what to expect. But I found it to be so enjoyable. I think it does a great job of kind of mimicking the business world. It mimics those meetings that you have where you're discussing important business meeting or business topics. You're trying to weigh the pros and cons, come to a decision where there isn't necessarily a right answer, but you have to kind of evaluate your options. You have to disagree without being disagreeable. You have to be able to present and argue your points. And so I think the adjustment was, never having been in a class that way. You have to kind of learn the rhythm of it, learn how and when to speak up. You have to learn to listen a lot better than you would elsewhere because it's not just about listening to the professor, but really listening to your classmates. But I found it to be so enjoyable. I really enjoy kind of the the approach of trying to learn together, the struggle that comes with it. But I I think it's helped me listen better. It's definitely helped me speak better. And I think overall it's been just so rewarding for me.
So it sounds like the case method was completely new to you when you came to Darden.
Absolutely. As someone who studied engineering before, that's much more of a here's the right answer, here's the formula. You know, professor gives all the information to the students, and students basically only respond with questions. And so was it very much like kind of flipped that paradigm of what learning looks like for me. But like I said, I've really loved it.
What section were you?
Section E, the eels all the way. Yeah.
Okay. All right. What was your favorite thing about Section E?
I loved just all the little section traditions we came up with together. At some point in our first year, we came up with the idea that we needed to have a section hibachi night. And so 30 or 40 of us went to a local hibachi restaurant, are there, you know, as the shrimp are being flipped and the, onion volcanoes and all that kind of stuff. And it's been something we now do on a very regular basis, probably once a quarter. And so it's just funny that out of kind of a random dinner idea, it's become this tradition that is something we all look forward to so much whenever the next hibachi night will be.
I love that.
Yeah,
Section hibachi nights. Were
section
you
hibachi night.
were you a hibachi person before this, or
It
were you
had probably
persuaded?
been like 15 or 20 years since I had been to a hibachi grill. Um, and so I was a little skeptical for the first one, but then we all got there and kind of took over our corner of the restaurant and just had so much fun there together.
Yeah, 40 people showing up at an hibachi restaurant all at the same time.
Yeah.
That's a
Uh,
lot.
it's a lot. Yeah. Thankfully they can handle us, and now they kind of know us when they're like, "Oh, you're part of the crew that's here again." It's like, "Yes, yes, we are."
I love that. Okay. How did your career goals evolve during your first year, during your time at Darden?
Yeah, I from the get-go was much more interested in kind of a more atypical path from an MBA perspective. Uh, right out of my undergrad, I'd spent some time in consulting and so had kind of explored that path before. And so I came to Darden really trying to explore kind of different and unique career paths. And was really interested in some different careers within kind of the impact space, whether that be like foundations or nonprofits or sustainability type stuff. I'm very passionate about trying to have a career focused in giving back. And so coming to here has kind of opened up a lot of doors and let me kind of meet people in some of those spaces and explore different careers where it's not just about providing value to a business, but also providing value to the world. I still am working on what that will be post graduation, but I'm in the talks with a number of kind of impact first type companies and organizations.
I'm curious, you mentioned it's a bit of a non-traditional path. What does that look like from a student standpoint? Are you doing a lot of networking? How are you working with the career team? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's definitely not non-traditional, which means a lot more of the onus falls on me. Classmates in more traditional career paths, whether that be banking or consulting, have like a wonderful kind of map and game plan to follow. For me, since that doesn't quite exist, a lot of it's outreach, and whether that's outreach to people that I have previously known from school before this or from my time living in the Bay Area. Also leveraging my classmates' networks as well as of course the Darden alumni network. So it's a lot of networking. It's a lot of trying to meet people, understand what they're doing, and then it requires a lot of patience because a lot of those things they're not planning their hiring decisions 8 months a year out, and so right now is really when that's picking up for me, and so it's kind of having already established a lot of those relationships and having already talked to people, now kind of evaluating who or what organizations have open roles where I might be a good fit.
Given that interest, how did you spend the summer between your first and second year?
So for the summer, unfortunately, a lot of the impact first places do not have internships because similar to what I just said, they're much more focused on kind of full time hiring. This summer, I was actually at Amazon as a product managing intern, so something a lot closer aligned to where I was before. Learned a lot. I think it was a great experience, but hoping to do something more impact forward moving forward.
Yeah, so you come back to school after that summer, and second year is full of electives, also oftentimes club and extracurricular
Yeah.
opportunities. What does your second year look like?
So second year has been a lot of fun. As you mentioned, it's not just the electives and being able to kind of explore your classes, but I've done a lot from a from a club perspective. Mostly, I'm the president of the Net Impact Club here, which is kind of this club that operates under the idea that business can exist for more than just profits, but making positive differences in the world. And so, a lot of my time this year has been trying to not only run that club, but establish and kind of grow different programs there that allow Darden students to have these opportunities to learn and give back. And so happy to talk more about those if you're interested. But I think, on top of course, the networking and the classes and the social, where most of my time has been spent this year.
Before we talk about net impact, I want to talk a little bit more about how you chose your classes this year. In the full time program, students have an opportunity to take over 20 electives, which
Yeah.
is, that is it during that second year primarily. Uh, what was, how'd you pick your classes? How'd you go about that process?
Yeah, I tried to kind of do a couple different things simultaneously. I tried to find classes where either I was very interested in the topic, or um, classes where I had heard great things about a professor who maybe I hadn't had, as well as try things that were very much outside of my comfort range. So, for example, having worked in tech but never in healthcare, decided to take a class with Paul Mathern that was an intro to healthcare class, and ended up absolutely loving it. Learning all about a new industry that I knew nothing about, and thought it's a great way, especially with all the elective opportunities, to kind of just sample something new. And so I've done a mixture of kind of doubling down on areas of my interests, being kind of tech and AI and impact, as well as then sampling new things to just kind of get some variety, and see what else might be out there.
Yeah, it's a pretty common answer, honestly, when I ask people about electives. Maybe they
Yeah.
want to go deeper into a particular area, but you have so many electives to take, and people have a lot of different interests, particularly after taking the core, where you
Yeah.
discover lots of different classes that you may not have even sort of gravitated towards without having the core. But all of a sudden, you're taking those classes, and guess what? You're interested in it. Maybe you want to follow up and take another class with that faculty member, or another class in that area. I hear that all the time.
Oh, absolutely. And I think you're absolutely right. The core, I think, not only kind of gives you that kind of exposure into all these different potential fields, but it also, I think, does such a great job of equipping you with kind of such a strong foundation that you can kind of go into just about any class and be capable of kind of learning, growing, and delivering insight as well. And so it's awesome that for the most part, there's very minimal classes where there's like a chain and a whole bunch of prerequisites, which really kind of opens up that door even further to really explore and try all sorts of different things with your electives.
Well, tell us what Net Impact has been up to this year.
Yeah, so one of the most exciting things that Net Impact has been up to is the Golub Capital Board Fellows program. And so that's a program that had previously existed under Net Impact, but had been fairly small. And we've been able to grow that program a lot. And so what that looks like is it allows second year students at Darden to sit on the board as non-voting members of nonprofits that for the most part are local to the Charlottesville area. So it's an awesome opportunity for those students to have like real life board experience, see what it's like to serve on a board, as well as then give back to the community and provide kind of their insights and their business expertise with these nonprofits. We've been able to do that in partnership with Golub Capital, which has generously given us a wonderful grant, and they are building out a network of business schools across the country to really fund and grow and improve these types of programs at top business schools.
Did you have a chance to sit on a board yourself?
I did. So I'm currently sitting on a board of a nonprofit that's actually based in Utah, but it's a nonprofit that I had previously volunteered with. And so it's been wonderful to sit on the board there, see what those conversations are like, and and also provide my input and my thoughts as far as how we can continue to further the mission of the nonprofit.
How do you see this experience adding to your overall MBA experience?
I think it's so great to have this experience to have some sort of kind of tangible action attached to the learning. So much of what we do at Darden, while wonderful, is all to some level theoretical. In all the case discussions, we can debate and weigh the pros and cons of a decision, but then we don't actually have to go out and make the decision. Everything is kind of hypothetical. So to have this experiential learning opportunity where it's no longer in a classroom. Here I sometimes joke that you're playing for keeps, right? It's not something where you can just, control Z undo and go back to where you were before. But so to actually kind of be in those rooms and to help make those types of decisions, I think goes a long way to solidifying kind of the what we learn at Darden, as well as kind of allow you to learn it in a slightly different way where you're outside the walls of a classroom and have to make those decisions for real.
I love those points. I work a lot with our executive MBA and part-time MBA students, and so we hear all the time from those students about sort of taking what you're learning in class, trying it out at work, or bringing things from work to the classroom. And so that sort of real hands-on applied learning, which of course you get in the case method, but you're right, the stakes are a little bit different when you're working with a nonprofit board.
Absolutely, and I think it's a great way to kind of put what you've learned to the test and kind of figure out, okay, what might work on paper, maybe not quite as well, or maybe not quite in the same way in the real world. So it's been wonderful.
I'm curious, Charlie, you mentioned this desire you have to work and sort of give back and make that your full-time job. Are there particular when you're on that doing that kind of search, are you starting with like, I'm really passionate about this particular issue? Or are you trying to find an organization that you think is really doing good work? Like how do you narrow the universe?
I think for me, interestingly, my approach has kind of had to be the opposite. I think I came in during the first year and was very kind of narrowly focused on saying, hey, the issue I really care about is like international economic development. Um, and so I had started with kind of that issue and tried to kind of really drill down to, okay, what are the opportunities there? Uh, as I've progressed, I've kind of had to adjust that mode of thinking and say more, and kind of tell myself that impact can look a lot of different ways. Impact and having a positive or making a positive difference on the world can look like mentorship, can look like improving healthcare, can look like creating more sustainable energy. There's so many different ways that impact can look like, and so many different ways where individuals can help others and help the world, that I've really this year tried to kind of broaden my focus and say, okay, maybe this isn't like the very small area that I have experience and am really passionate about. But at the end of the day, what matters more to me than solving a particular issue is doing good. And so as I've kind of broadened that scope, that's opened up more networking opportunities and it's really kind of allowed me to start to say, hey, like who do you know who's doing something interesting that matters? Who do you know that's helping someone else, helping other organizations, helping other people? And so that's kind of been my approach, and that has led to what some of my friends joke about is the strangest career search in the history of Darden, because I'm talking, one day to a nonprofit, then the next day to, you know, software companies, the day after that to a foundation, the day after that to investment firms. And so it has really opened up a lot of doors and has really kind of broadened my horizon and changed the way I think about how I want to do good.
I love that point. Being flexible in that way and sort of maybe having a North Star, but one that has enough breadth to it that doesn't sort of force you into something that's super narrow, that gives you a chance to sort of think more broadly about your career goals. I think that's important for anybody coming to an MBA program to hear and to think about, particularly when it comes to career search.
Yeah, and I think with that, it's kind of at maybe a higher, slightly more philosophical level, it's really about adaptability and flexibility. Like we and like this comes up day after day in class. Like business, like the environments business operates in change, and so you have to be able to abandon a strategy even if it worked previously because it doesn't work anymore. And things can change completely outside your control. And so like I think coming to Darden and kind of learning to deal with ambiguity and learning how to be flexible and adaptable I've already seen the benefits of that in my career search because I've had to employ kind of those skills that we talk about and learn every day as I'm now out kind of talking with these different companies and trying to map out what the next step is for me in my career.
Well, Charlie, I'm curious. What are you looking forward to in the months ahead?
Oh, I am looking forward to the continued warm and the continued sunshine. I'm very excited to see the Board Fellows program grow. In the last year, we went from 17 fellows. Now we're at 30, and hoping to grow that this upcoming year to hopefully 40 to 50, which means we're bringing in more nonprofit partners, and we're having more students participate in that. And so I'm excited to see the growth of that program. I'm very excited for graduation, and excited to see where myself and all my classmates end up for our next step.
It's great to hear there would be that much interest in a program like the Board Fellows at Darden. What's been the feedback from your classmates who have also participated in these
Oh,
experiences?
it's been so exciting to kind of see the growth and interest. While we had 30 fellows this year, we actually had 92 people apply. And so the demand is there. The Darden students care about experiential learning, and they care about giving back. And so now it's on us as kind of the Board Fellows leadership team to build out the infrastructure in a way that provides more of these students that opportunity. And so we've been working hard at recruiting new nonprofits, at doing what we need to from both kind of a program standpoint and an academic standpoint. There's classes that go along with and support the program to get those in a spot where we can continue to grow that program because there is such an interest and desire from the student body.
What's it like to reach out to a nonprofit and say, "Hey, would you like to have a Darden student on your board?"
The most fun thing is recently we haven't had to outreach. We are now having nonprofits reach out to us and say, "Hey, we're talking with a nonprofit leader at a different organization, and they have a fellow, and that sounds awesome. Like, how can we get one?" And so it's been cool to see it go from cold emails and hoping to get on a phone with an executive director and explain what we're trying to do, to now we have all that coming towards us because especially here in the Charlottesville area, Darden is so recognized and so well respected that these nonprofits that are doing amazing work but need help and need someone with some business expertise, they are the ones proactively saying, "Hey, we want this, we need this, we think this will help us further our mission." So that for me has been so cool and so exciting to see.
Well, Charlie, last question for you. Is there a piece of advice you would share with our prospective student listeners?
I would say first to embrace and enjoy the experience. It flies by. I was having lunch with a couple buddies today, and we just can't believe that we are a mere 7 weeks of class away from graduating. And secondly, I would say be open-minded, explore new things. It's such a great opportunity to kind of disconnect from work, to have that opportunity to really explore career paths that maybe you haven't thought about before, to network and reach out to alums. Maybe maybe it's not the right fit for you, and that's fine, but to it's such a great opportunity to explore and try those new things and learn a little bit and really broaden your horizon. So those would be my two small pieces of advice.
Yeah, how nice to be able to be back in school. Just have 2 years to focus on learning and growing, developing, asking these kind of incredible questions of like, what do I want to do?
Yeah.
Where do I want to take my career? And to have support around that. And not only that, you get to meet all these great classmates and people from all over the world. It's
Oh,
amazing.
oh, absolutely. It really is remarkable.
Well, Charlie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Great to hear about all the things that are happening with Net Impact and the Board Fellows program. When we heard about this at admissions, we were like, gosh, it'd be great to talk about this on the podcast, just to shine a light on it. Because I know we have a lot of listeners who are interested in having an impact, doing great things, being a force for good in the world. And nice to see how Darden students are doing that during their 2 years.
Of course. Thank you so much, Brett. And everyone, come to Darden and join Board Fellows.
And that was my conversation with Charlie Meyer, a second-year student in our full-time MBA class of 2026. As always, if you have any comments, suggestions, requests, anything you'd like for us to cover here on the podcast, we're all ears. We can be reached at Darden, that's DARDEN, @virginia.edu. Till next time, stay safe, be well, and thanks for listening.